Hey everyone, welcome to the Be Bold, Make Waves podcast. If you're looking for strategy, systems, list building, and marketing tips to help grow and scale your business with ease, then you are in the right place. I'm your host, Laura Komark, an email marketing and tech strategist who works with coaches and consultants who love their work, but not the tech. Join me for conversation packed with actionable insights, strategies, and systems to help you take control of your tech and simplify your business. Let's go ahead and dive into this week's episode. Hello and welcome to this week's show. For those of you who don't already know me, I'm Laura Komark, email marketing, strategy, systems, and setups for coaches and consultants who love their work, but not their tech. I'm really excited about my guest today, Erin Thompson. Erin is a financial freedom architect and mother of 5, who blends her engineering background and personal finance expertise to craft wealth and financial independence blueprints for her clients. Having navigated significant credit card debt twice, Erin guides complete newcomers on how to find ways to bring in online income that are best suited for their personalities and life situations in order to get out of debt and start investing in the stock market for long-term growth. She balances homeschooling while running 3 successful businesses and aims to retire her husband by 40, with her favorite income stream being safe day trading. Erin is incredibly passionate about empowering middle and lower class individuals, particularly women, to harness the stock market's potential for wealth accumulation. Her empowering message is that financial freedom is within reach, no matter your starting point, and she's committed to guiding others on their journey to financial independence. Erin, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about how you got into day trading?
Actually, it was right before the pandemic. I was looking for ways to start bringing in money online, and I found this way that I was going to do. And then my husband found day trading, and he was like, I actually think that you would really like this, because we're both super introverts, and it really taps into the strengths of an introvert, like the quiet reflection and analyzing things. It is much better suited to introverts than I ever would have dreamed. And so I tried it and I absolutely fell in love. And now I actually like to teach other women how to do it that way, because it's like, I think the statistic is over 90% of day traders are men, which is just crazy to me. Now, I will say that day trading, if you look up statistics about how many people are successful with it, the statistics are not great, but I think it's because you get a lot of the guys who are like, I'm going to get a Lamborghini, bro. And they like gamble it all on one trade and then they lose everything. So the success rate doesn't look great on paper, but there is absolutely a way to do sort of like slow and steady wins the race, to accumulate small gains over time. Before you know it, those small gains are like medium-sized gains, and then those become large gains, because the processes that you use to make like $1,000 a day are the same that you're using to make like $10 a day or $30 a day when you're starting out. You're just learning those processes, and then you ramp it up over time as you get good at it. And yeah, it can be a really, really great future. So I want to introduce that to women, because we are so sadly underrepresented in the day trading community.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard day trading over the years, and I'm always like, oh, that's like a man thing that men do. And I don't even know what it is. I've seen different women talk about it. I'm like, I don't even understand. Like, how do you even start? So when you have someone who is first starting out, like what do they even do? Like, what's the first step?
So really, the first step is just kind of learning what the heck you're looking for and what it all is, because there's like a lingo that goes along with it. So I actually have a course where people can get into it and learn kind of the lay of the land. What is all the lingo? What does all this mean? But really, like the day in, day out, what do you like do? You are looking for certain patterns. So if you're like really good at puzzles or just any kind of pattern recognition, that's basically what you're doing. Every morning you run what's called a scanner. And so it's scouring the whole stock market for stocks that are doing the things that you're looking for. And then when one of these stocks that are doing the thing actually does the pattern, you're like, oh, hey. And then now you know, based on the pattern, where to get in, roughly where to get out, and you're able to make a quick profit. Sometimes I'm only in a stock for like a minute or two. So it's crazy.
That's wild. So basically, it becomes like a habit. Like first thing you do in the morning is you log in and then check what's happening. Is that kind of
Yeah,
the flow there?
exactly. And I love it. My time frame hasn't been working out quite as well lately. What I used to do is the market opens at 9:30 Eastern. So I would get like around 9 a.m. I would like start doing that research, and then the market opens at 9:30. And the between 9:30 and 9:45 is really volatile and kind of crazy. So sometimes you can have good luck, but for beginners, I always recommend not to trade during that time because it's just wild. And a lot of times you'll get in on something thinking it's about to go huge, and then it just falls apart. And then you are like, so what I would do is like really between 9:45 and 10 a.m. I would trade, and I would make my little bit of money for the day. And then I had an alarm that went off on my phone at 10 that's like, okay, time to switch gears and go homeschool the kids now. And then I would go homeschool the kids.
Oh, oh, I love it. It's crazy. I love it.
Yeah, it was
My,
awesome.
my
Then
husband.
really like from 9 to 10 was all the time that I was spending on it, which was amazing.
Yeah, my husband during the pandemic started kind of playing around and putting some money in stocks. And I remember trying to log in and be like, I don't understand like what to do. I don't even know. Like, this is so outside of my comfort zone of understanding and trying to like I'm trying to even think what company we were using. I feel like it was a DT Ameritrade, which later converted to something else. But I could
Oh
be
yeah. Schwab, I think, bought them.
that sounds right.
Yeah, because I had TD Ameritrade, and then yeah, Schwab bought them over. I think it was just last year. So
So just, I mean, for a while he was in there, he was like messing around with stuff, moving stuff around. And then he got to the point where it just, life got busy again because we were no
yeah,
longer in pandemic mode. And I don't even know what's happening in there because I haven't logged in many, many years at this point. So
yeah.
is,
I just did a training in my group last week. I have a Facebook group called Invite Money into Your Life, and I did a training last week about how day trading or investing, either way, like really, it could be as easy as online shopping. Like in terms of once you know what you want to buy, you just go in there and you say, I want to buy this. I want to buy this many of this. And then you just buy it. And when you're ready to sell, you go into your portfolio and you bring up all the things that you have bought and you say, this one, I want to sell that. And you tell it how many to sell and you're out. And then it takes your money 3 days to settle. But after that, you can withdraw your money, do like a bank to bank transfer to your own bank. And yeah, it's kind of like a savings account in that way, which I love about it. It's more liquid money that you can get to faster than some other places that you could park your money to try to help you make money.
is there like a certain amount that you need to have to start out with day trading? Because again, something that's always been maybe a myth that I think is like day trading. Oh, I have to have like $10,000 to like throw into this market, and who knows what's going to happen to it.
So years ago, I will say there were a lot of firms out there where you needed like 10,000 or even 1,000 to open an account. But there are so many brokers. After Robinhood came out, that was really the best thing for all of us because once Robinhood came on the scene, they had $0 commissions, which means every trade you make, you don't have to pay a commission to anybody. And they had like no account minimums and no like minimum amount that you can trade or invest. So because of that, all the other people started following suit, realizing they were losing business to Robinhood. So just about any brokerage that you have heard of, like the big ones like E-Trade, which just got bought out by Morgan Stanley, and TD Ameritrade or Schwab now, those big ones, they all have $0 account minimums and like $0 trade or investment minimums. So you could open an account and put $5 in there. And if you see something that you like the looks of and it's, less than $5 a share, then you could buy a share or more if it's, a cheaper stock. But yeah, that's the nice thing about nowadays is because back when I started looking into investing, I mean, it used to be like a $20 commission per transaction. So if you were going to do a trade, you would have a $20 commission on the front end and the back end. You really needed to make sure you were going to make at least $40 on it. Otherwise, it was going to be a losing venture. So it's so nice now that they have those $0 commissions.
Oh, that's good to know. So if someone was just starting out, so like someone in the audience is listening, they're like, "Oh, this sounds really interesting." Is there an amount that you would recommend to start out with? Like I know you're saying you could start with as little as 5, but I mean that might take a little while to see a return on that. Or is there an amount that when you're working with clients that you would say like, "This is where I would recommend just starting out"?
Typically, I recommend like you really don't want to go much more than like 1,000. Just because when you're starting, that's the time when you're going to make all the mistakes, right? You're going to do all the screw ups. And so you don't want to have a huge amount of money in there to mess up with. So, like we talked about at the beginning a little bit, slow and steady wins the race. So, I really recommend starting small and getting the feel for what you're doing, only buying like one share of something and then see what happens. And if it goes well, great. Always be journaling and documenting what's going well and what's not going well, and then trying to get a little bit better the next day. And yeah, so starting out, it takes a little while to kind of get the hang of it, not because looking for the patterns is hard. Truthfully, the hard part is yourself, like rationalizing and justifying, like, oh, I don't know, maybe it'll do this, or like getting over your own internal thoughts is the hardest part, honestly. But I think that's why women are so much better suited, because we have that like women's intuition and we listen to ourselves, and a lot of men are like, they shut out the emotions, or they shut down, or they're like so trained the way that society has raised us all to like ignore that voice. And so I feel like they tend to run into more trouble than we as women do, because we listen to that inner voice.
Oh, I love
That's
that.
another reason I want to get women into it more.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why when I heard what you did, I was like, "Oh, I have to have you on the show. Like this is fascinating." What other tools are you using? Like you mentioned that there's a scanner that you run. Like is that a tool within like Schwab, or is that something that's like a separate app that you subscribe to or something like that? What other tools do you recommend to have?
So there are both. There are scanners within like the standard Schwab platform and the E-Trade Morgan Stanley platform. The one that I use is really good, and it has like an amazing breaking news feature. So I actually do pay for that. I don't even use that platform to trade, but it's just like all the goodies that come with it. The ability to do research on that platform is really just kind of above and beyond what's in the standard scanners. So I really like that platform. Um, but yeah, otherwise, like you can still do what you need to do with your free platform. So that's the other nice thing, is it doesn't really take a lot of upfront money to get started.
Oh, I love that so much. What other tips do you have for someone? So, okay, someone's listening and they're like, okay, this sounds fascinating. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go open up, an account with Schwab or someone else that we mentioned. And I have my $1,000. I'm going to go put that in and just start looking around and see something and just make, buy a share here, a share there of some things and just start logging in every morning and see what's working, or what do we do?
Yeah, so the biggest advice, because I have a safe money framework, because that's the thing. If you just get in there and you're buying things, especially if you're using all of your account money, then chances are you're going to have one bad trade and you're going to lose all of your money. And it happens to so many people. What I've always tried to do, because when you have like in your account, I mentioned that it takes 3 days for the funds to settle. So what I try to do is, within my safe money framework, is never use more than a third of your account per day. That way it's sort of like a rolling, that 3 days, like you always have a third of your account to trade with, because you're never using all of it. So that's one way that you can, use less of your money than you have, to start small, but also to keep yourself safe so that you're never losing it all, because you're not ever trading with it all.
Is there a certain point where, like, okay, say you put in $1,000, I don't know, a month or so goes by and you're up to $5,000. At that point, is there a certain point where you would suggest like go ahead and pull out either 4,000, so you're back to that same starting point, or do you keep reinvesting it, or how, like, is there a strategy there?
So one of the strategies that I really like to teach people is keeping your money in the account. Because I know a lot of the women I work with, they are looking for ways to bring in more money. And so day trading, it just takes a little while to get to that point because you do want to leave your money in the account till you get to a certain point. And the point that I would like to get to is where you're making $1,000 a day, because there's about 20 trading days in a month. Now you're not going to win every day, but now we're getting into the like almost 20K a month just from trading. And you might think that you have to have a lot of money in your account to make $1,000 a day, but the strategies that I'm teaching, you're trying to go for singles, right? Like about a 10% or less gain. So really with an account that's in the like $30,000 to $45,000 range, if you are using a third of your account every day, that's like $10,000 to $15,000, and you're making about 10%, there's your $1,000 to $1,500. And again, you're not going to win every day, but if you got in a rhythm where you were really good and consistently seeing profits, as you go, you keep scaling that up until you get to that point where you can trade with $1,000 a day because you have that much in your account. And then you can keep growing. There are people that get to like make millions of dollars from trading. Or there's lots of people that are like, that's nice, but I don't need that like thing. Like, I don't need to be a millionaire. You know what I mean? So they're really happy just making like 20 grand a month from trading.
Oh, I have so many like things going through my brain right now. It's fascinating to me because again, it's something I've always heard about. I never fully understood it. There's people I've heard about like, "Oh, what does he do? Oh, he's a day trader." I'm like, "I don't know what that means." Like when someone is a day trader as like their profession and they work for a company, is that different than like I do day trading as something fun on the side?
Kind of. So there are some firms out there. I've heard of it more with like options trading, which is a whole different animal. But there are firms who will employ people to do options trades for them, and then you make a cut of your winnings essentially. But they allow you to like trade with huge amounts of money. So if you're making a trade where you're investing $60,000 or whatever, you're going to make a pretty good uh upside on that, and then you get a cut of that, and you didn't have to put up all the upfront cash, which is nice. So that is a possibility. I don't do that. I just trade for myself. And I will tell you, the very first time I did it, it's weird because you go to make the trade and you're like, this just feels like I should have some kind of a degree or something to be able to do this. I can't believe that I can just go and buy and sell things like this, but you absolutely can. There's no degree, no like certification or anything like that required to do it. To be considered like a full-time day trader, the IRS has some like things that you need to meet to be considered a full-time day trader. But you don't have to meet those in order to do it. You can absolutely just dabble whenever you get a chance,
Oh, I love this.
which is
So
what I like about it. It's so flexible.
I want to talk a little bit about, you mentioned you have a course on this. And so is what format is the course? Is it a self-study? Is it a do it along with me? Is there office hours? Like how does that work?
So it's sort of a beginner course, which is self-study. And then I have another sort of level where you get the beginner course and you get a more in-depth course so you can really start getting good at it. And that comes with weekly live trainings where I'm here. I'm like, I can answer any of your questions. It's kind of ask me anything format. And we're going over like, here's all the stocks that really took off and went today. And we're kind of reverse engineering, like, this is when we can see it started to do the thing, right? And so now we know to look for that more in the future as we keep going and talking about what patterns are working really well. I mentioned that my like 9:45 to 10 o'clock time slot is not working very well. So talking about that, keeping people kind of with their finger on the pulse of what's going on with the market so that they can get even better, even faster.
Oh, I love that. So I want to switch gears a little bit, and I'm totally going to link that up in the show notes for all our listeners. So if anyone is like, I want that in my life, go grab that and work with Erin because Erin, this is just fascinating and I love it. I want to talk a little bit. I'm totally a tech person. I know you know this about me. I want to talk a little bit about the tech behind your business. So in terms of running like your course and your website and all that, what tech platforms do you use?
So I use it's like a branded version of Go High Level. When I was first getting into everything, I saw like just all of the things, in the columns where you compare. And it was like, man, I could just do everything with this. So my email stuff is through there, my CRM, um, my websites, my funnels, everything is through this. It's a branded version of Go High Level.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's definitely one that we've had a lot of conversations on the podcast about. We've had a number of different Go High Level experts come in and talk, which I can link those up in the show notes as well. What would you say? I want to talk a little bit about mindset because that's always fun. What were some of your fears and doubts you had when you were going into starting with day trading?
Probably the biggest fear is like, am I going to lose all of my money? And the doubt would be like, can this happen for me too? Like I see in the different communities that I'm in, people are having success, but will I have success? So, and I think that probably resonates with everyone because you hear these things happening for other people and it's like, well, that's great, but that's them. Like I'm me. Will that really happen for me too? So that's probably one of the big mindset pieces I've struggled with.
I can relate to that so much. I feel like I have been doing this online business for so long and I see other people, which I always am like, stop looking, stop comparing. Comparisonitis is like the root of all badness that there is. You can't do it. And comparing myself, I'm like, why am I not further
Yes.
along? Why am I not hitting these like income goals? And then reminding myself, I started building this business when I was a new mother and had this
Mhm.
little newborn at home and trying to figure out like I'm no longer in corporate. I was laid off when I was pregnant from
Oh,
my super secure corporate job.
yeah.
And so it was a big change because I never planned on being home with this little baby. And so trying to do that and then build a business and figure out this whole online business world that we're in. And my kids just got to the point where they're in school full time, well, during school year.
Yeah.
Not during summer. And then like now we have an after school care program. And so I finally last year was really my first year of I have Monday through Friday to work on my business. Whereas again, the comparisonitis of like people who maybe, don't have kids or a family and they're just able to work as much as possible. Like on the weekends, I haven't touched, today's Monday when we're recording. I didn't touch my computer all weekend. It got
Yeah.
turned
Me
off on
either.
Friday and like that I'm in mom mode all weekend long. So it's I can definitely relate to the comparisonitis. Like it's hard.
Yes. I love the quote, comparison is the thief of joy, because whenever I find myself comparing to other people, I was recently in a coaching program and um there was a lot of like, gosh, I've been doing this for 2 years. I just thought I would be farther along by now. And the coach was like, but why? Like, you're on your journey. Like, you're learning all the things that you need to learn. And that was really, really wise, I thought. And so I've been trying to like put the blinders on and not compare myself to other people. And even in like, we're in a coaching program and I feel like I'm sort of the new kid on the block in terms of my business is like younger than a lot of the other women in the group, I feel like. Um, so trying not to compare myself to all of you as well, it's difficult, but but I totally agree.
And I think the interesting thing is I find that everyone's doing that same thing. They're all
Yeah.
comparing them where they are in their journey to everyone else in the room because we all also don't know the background that everyone else is going
Yes.
through and the struggles. Like, what do we see? We see what is shared in the groups, in calls together. We see what's on social media, but we don't really know what's happening behind the scenes and really what the bottom line truly does look like.
Right. Exactly.
So I love that. What would you say? So I'm a big fan of celebration. I love celebrating with cheese because I just love cheese, as everyone who follows me on Instagram knows. I'm a big fan of celebrating our wins, any win, big wins, like just taking action to go forward, what is something we could celebrate that you're really proud of, that you have overcome something and something that you're just like, ooh, go me, a little pat on the back.
I agree with you. Celebrating all of the things is really good. It like puts you in that more abundance mindset mode. And so kudos. You should be celebrating all the things. I struggle because I feel like I'm one of those people where I get to the point where I wanted to be, and then it's like, well, but I didn't, or now I still gotta, and so I don't celebrate as much as I should. But I am proud of myself for getting the course launched. And I had a event last year, and I kind of like my business has sort of, because we just moved into this house. And as you know, moving is super stressful. So things sort of like took a pause for a moment. And then I was like going on this existential crisis. What am I doing with my business? So I'm really proud of myself for not giving up and for staying the course and just sort of reframing, recentering, figuring out like what's important and reprioritizing based on that, but not giving up, still going forward. Because yeah, I've gotten to that weird spot with my business. And like you said, you feel like I've been doing this for a while, and why don't I have this or that or whatever? So wanted to give up a few times, but I'm proud that I did not, and I'm still going with it.
I love that. And if I had a nickel for every time I wanted to burn down my business, I'd have a whole lot of nickels.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
There, they actually say it's interesting because we had Tiffany on the podcast many, many months ago, maybe a year or so ago. I will link her episode up in the show notes, and she's a certified period coach. And so she
Okay.
actually has a whole like I find now that when I have friends come to me and they're like, I want to burn it down, I'm like, where are you in your cycle tracking? Because are you in I want to burn it all down week? Because there is a week every woman has, no matter what we're doing, if we're based on moon cycles or menstrual cycles or whatever, there will be a month that we or not a month, I'm sorry, a week every month where we want to burn it all down, and that is normal. So
Yes, I totally. I had a friend, and she used to like 3 months out of or 3 weeks out of the month, she would like absolutely love her boyfriend at the time. Now they're married, but 1 week out of the month, she was like, what am I doing with him? Like, so literally every month she was contemplating breaking up with him, and it was always like the week before her period. So we would have a good laugh about that. But yeah, I totally agree that yeah, and it was like right when all of this stuff kicked off with the move and everything, it was that week right before my period. So I was like, is that why I'm considering burning it all down and walking away? Like, I just don't know. I don't know what's going on.
yeah, I had a friend who wanted to make a big change. I'm like, I want you to sit on it and just think about it and come back to me in a week. If you still feel like making this big change, then we can talk. But if not, I just sit, marinate in that feeling, and let's just put a pin in it and just keep moving forward. She came back. She's like, no, I still really want to do this. And it's been 3 weeks. I'm like, okay, then I give you permission to go burn that piece of your business down, but just leave the rest whole and steady as it is, please.
Yeah, that's very smart. Sage advice.
What would you say that you're doing that's being very bold in the industry? Something that others in the day trading, teaching world aren't really doing, or the coaching world of day trading?
Well, as we talked about, most of the teaching of day trading is men. There are only like two other women out there who are even actually three other women that are teaching any kind of trading at all that I know of. So I would say that the way that I'm being bold is we all sort of, there's different styles of trading, and the men tend to, it's less teaching and it's more talking. Like the programs that I have been in, the men really love the sound of their own voice, and so they want to tell you all the things and none of it helps you, right? The one guy is like, I have 500 million hours of webinars you can watch, which is great, except it'll be like a 2-hour webinar and he's just talking about himself and his life the whole time. And you get like 10 minutes of wisdom that you can actually use to learn. And I'm like, this is such a waste of time. I can't do this. So I try to be very kind of bold and to the point, and like there's no fluff. I think it's still fun because I have like an upbeat kind of personality, but I am absolutely, all the women that have gone through my program are like, I love that you did not sugarcoat anything. Like you right up front were like, you should expect this and like know these things going in. And they really, really loved how like transparent I am and how honest I am, because I think a lot of times in this industry, there are people where it's like those who can't do teach. So they're saying all these things and you don't even really know how successful that they are. So I think that I'm very bold and that I am so transparent, and like I just could not imagine doing this without full integrity.
Yeah.
So yeah, actually like getting to the point and teaching people and just being transparent and honest and open with people.
I
So I
love
think people
that.
deserve that.
I find just even as someone who is fully self-taught in like a techie website world, when I first was getting into it and trying to find answers to questions, going into forums, it was very male dominated. And a lot of times people are very unkind when you ask a question and they're like, how do you not know this? You call yourself a web designer? Like what? And it was mean. There was a lot,
Yeah.
I got very scared to post things in groups because a lot of times I'd post and I'd quickly go and delete it because people were so unkind. And so that's something as I've grown my business, like when I talk to clients, even just on discovery calls, when I ask them the questions of like, do you know where your website is hosted? And I always say, it is okay to answer, I do not know. There is no
Yeah.
shame. There is no judgment. Like it's just a question and it's okay if you don't know, we will figure it out. And that's something that I know has set me apart from a lot of other people in the tech world is it's okay to not know because you really, why would you know?
Yeah.
And so it's, yeah, it's definitely not something that it's something that's very different in a male dominated field is
Yes.
having
I
the
really love that.
kindness and compassion that women can bring to an industry. So I love that you're doing that and being that's your way of being bold. I love that so much.
Thank you.
So I want to know, so you have 5 children, which I have 2, and that feels like a whole bunch. And anytime I hear someone has 5, I'm like, that's a whole hand of children. Like that's a lot. How how do you manage life, life, a home, 3 businesses with 5 children, and you homeschool? You're incredible.
Thank
Do you
you.
sleep?
I do. I do. Well, it's taking some like trial and error to figure out a schedule groove for us. Um, I try to, and this is where I've been terrible since the move, like waking up early because my kids, like I don't put them to bed early because they don't have to get up early for school, right? So they just kind of stay up until we go to sleep. But I used to get up early in the mornings and I would try to get as much for my business done before everybody woke up and need cereal and the rest of breakfast and all of those fun things. And like I said, I would at a certain point I have to break away from that or have my bigger kids kind of help the littler kids with, finishing up breakfast and things. And then I would switch gears to, okay, now I need to day trade. And then I had an alarm that went off like, okay, now it's time for school. And just scheduling any calls like this or, calls with clients, doing the homeschooling around that. I'm like maybe too flexible, some people say. Because I love like I can make whatever work around everybody else kind of thing. So generally, if I have a call, then we're doing what school we can before that. And then afterward, we'll finish up and get the rest of the school done. So I love the flexibility that homeschooling allows us for that. And then really when they're done with school, I should be better about like going to play with them and things like that. But sometimes I'll tend to like switch gears back to trying to get more work done just so that I can get to the place that I want to be And like I said, since this move, I haven't even been waking up early. It's been terrible. So I really need to get back on track and like back to my schedule, because it was magic when it was like really clicking. And we instituted for homeschooling about halfway through last year this checklist. And it was like, you have to do like 15 minutes on the spelling app, and then, do all your language arts and all your science. And like they do math with me, but they do their other subjects on their own. And like different little, like they do Babbel, the language app. Like one of them is learning Italian and the other two are doing Spanish. And so like they have these little things on this checklist, and it has been a godsend because when they get done with the checklist, they can earn more tablet time and like to do things that they want to do. So they're kind of busy and they're all like round robining with like the laptop and working with mom and doing the tablet stuff to get through their checklist. And they're like excited to get through the checklist, because then when they're done, now they can do their sort of preferred activity. So that was a huge game changer for us. And yeah, all the while with the big three, then I have the little two, a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old, which was more challenging when they were a little younger. It's getting easier every day because they're just a little bit older. That helps a lot.
Yeah, mine are 6 and 8. And with the 8-year-old, things are getting a little easier. Like she can make her own bagel. Like this is
Yeah.
life-changing. Like she can
Yeah.
go get a bagel, toast it, and get the cream cheese out. You know, we have
Yeah.
these like plastic serrated knife things that are like from Amazon that are like kids cutting knife things. I don't know. They work,
Mhm.
they cut things. Like she cut an apple in half the other day
Nice.
with this like not gonna sever any skin knife. I don't
Yeah,
understand how it works. Um, but yeah, I'm like, there's a light at the end of the tunnel because
there is.
it's the kneading, all the kneading it can be hard,
Yeah,
Never
I kind of told my husband, because my 4-year-old, like he's gonna be kind of ready to start doing school stuff next year. So I'm like, oh, I really need to take this year and make it count because next year I'm gonna have 4 that I'm doing school stuff with. It's gonna get intense. So I need to get things set up so that I have that wonderful time freedom where I can spend that time with the kids and not feel. That's one place I struggle, is I always feel like I should be doing something productive, right? And that's why like they'll get done with school and I feel like I have to shift gears back to work because I need to be doing something productive. So that's one thing I'm really trying to work on for myself, is like, why do I always feel like I need to be productive? And what are some more positive things I can be thinking and doing? And how can I schedule in breaks for myself and things like that? Because yeah, I'm not a machine.
It's so hard. I had a friend, I have an accountability partner, and we talk on Boxer every day. And she was in a place where she was like, I'm not getting anything done. I feel like I should. She was shooting all over herself. And I'm like, you got to
Oh
stop
yeah.
shooting all over yourself. Stop it. I said, I have something that what I try to do is when I'm starting to feel like, what did I do all day? I didn't do anything, but I was sitting at my desk and I was doing stuff. But what did I actually accomplish? I started making a list. And I use a little check, the little green checkbox emoji, and it can be as like, I got the kids to the bus on time.
Yeah.
That's a celebration. That's like a win. I went out and walked the dog on the beach. That's another win. I remembered to like feed myself a good breakfast. Like that's a win. Any little thing that I accomplish, like the could be like as big or as little as possible. And I started making those lists. And then now if I remember to make the list, because I type it up and then I'll send it out. I send it to my business coach, I send it to my accountability mastermind, and I send it to my accountability partner. So I have 3 different people that I will try. But again, I don't always do it every day. But I'll
Mhm.
send off like, here's all the things I did accomplish. Because sometimes when I look at my work to-do list, I'm like, what did I get done? Because I didn't seem to like cross off some of these bigger items, but I know I did a lot of little things.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm gonna steal that, because there was a point in time where my husband's like, I feel like you spend a lot of time in this room, like, but what are we like, what things are actually like crossing the finish line? And I'm like, I don't know.
I know I
But
did something.
he would work from home for a few days in a row, and he's like, I totally get it. You can't get all things done. Like it's just so many millions of little disruptions all throughout the day that, like, how can you get anything across the finish line? And I'm like, thank you. But I love that. So like, actually, this is what I accomplished, just to help celebrate because that is such a much better headspace to be in than shooting all over ourselves for sure.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, I love it. I could sit and talk to you all day. We're getting close to our time, and I have one final question that I ask everyone who comes on the show. And that is, what is one piece of advice you would give to someone who is growing and scaling their business to help them be bolder, be louder, and make waves?
Ooh. One single piece of advice. I think we've talked about it a little bit in terms of not comparing yourself to others, but I think at the root of that, it's like believing in yourself and like trusting your instinct for what, because everybody has their system, right? And so they're just going to teach you their system, but that might not be what you need. So like listening to your inner intuition and your gut and following what feels right to you, I feel like is going to get you where you want to be much faster by like following what feels good, following what feels right, believing in yourself the whole way, and not comparing yourself to others because you're not on their path, you're on your path. You know what I mean? I think that would be the biggest thing that's going to help you get to where you need to go. I don't know about faster because maybe your timeline's not meant to be faster, but it will help you get to like a really fulfilled place in your business.
I love that so much. Erin, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Can you tell our listeners where they can find you, come hang out with you, your free Facebook group, all the things?
Yes. So my website is Invite Money into Your Life. My Facebook group is like Facebook/groups/Invite Money into Your Life. And I'm on all the other social platforms. I think I'm Invite Money with Erin on like Instagram and TikTok. And if you want to hear more about day trading, you can go to my website, invitemoneyintoyourlife.com/register for webinar. It's actually register-for-webinar. So that might be easier to like see in the show notes and click from that. But yeah, that is where you can go if you want to catch my webinar and learn a little bit more about day trading and whether it would be a good fit for you or not. And then if you are curious at all, like there's a button underneath it to click to get on a call with me. I would love to chat if you are, not quite sure if it's a good fit or if you have more questions. Like Laura said, we could talk about this all day and I would love to talk about it with you and answer your questions. So feel free to set something up. I'd love to chat.
Wonderful. I will link all that up in the show notes. Thank you so much. This was such a fun and informative episode.
Thank you. It was really, really fun getting to talk with you.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode. Be sure to check out the show notes at lauracomark.com/podcast. And if you're ready to get more sales without more work, save time so you can focus on the work that you do love, and automate and simplify the back end of your business, grab my free resource, How to Get More Sales from Your Email List on Autopilot. Head on over to lauracomark.com/email. And don't forget to follow the show and leave a review in your favorite podcast app. It helps get this show in front of other business owners who want to grow and scale with ease. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye now.